How you doing?
I prefer not to.
You prefer not to? There's a lot of you guys around the city are no.
Well, that's because they're not campaigning anymore.
Oh, they're not campaigning. You don't have to touch my. You know, if you played a game, would you want to play a game without knowing the rules before playing? Do you think that that's fair? No. There's so many of them around.
Some more information about it. That could be here as well.
Appreciate it.
I'm
But
advocating for.
I would prefer to get the question for the question to be defined rather than.
It's in there.
Yeah, but that's not the question we're voting on. That's your propaganda.
And if you want to campaign for no, you.
No, I'm just wondering why you guys say you have an unfair disadvantage when there's so many of you. So that's what we're seeing around the city today is all yes. There's no campaigners and they're still losing. They seem to have the unions and socialist alternative organisations, but the no is still winning because most Australians are confused by the question or they don't want to be divided by race. Avi Yemeni for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia. We've seen all the activists in the mainstream media, the politicians on both sides, and the multiple celebrity endorsements. So now it's time to hear from the average Aussie in a town that only months ago the Yes camp could comfortably rely on to overwhelmingly vote for an Indigenous voice to Parliament, but as the campaign unfolded, shifting to a hard no. Let's find out why.
I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what it's about. I'm just going to be completely blunt. I've used to be real interested in the news and pay attention, but the last few years I've just given up.
But it has nothing to do with treaty. The government promises. Hello, how you doing? No. You don't want to tell us what you're asking people to vote yes to? Do you know what you're asking people to vote yes to?
I don't want to be on your show.
But nobody here seems to know what you're asking to vote yes to.
Not voting that way, so.
How are you doing?
Not voting that way.
You're not voting yes?
No, definitely not.
Why not?
Why not? I was going to vote yes originally.
You were going to
I
vote
was going to vote yes originally. But, what's her name? Marsha Langdon turned me off. All right? It was Marsha Langdon. More than anyone else, she's put me the other way.
How?
How? Well, you just got to listen to the way she talks.
How you doing, boys? Are we over 18? Yeah. Are we voting next month?
Inshallah.
Inshallah, you're voting?
Inshallah.
What are you going to vote?
I'll vote yes.
For what?
What am I voting for?
You know, my parents were refugees, all right, from war-torn Second World War. I'm born here. I'm born in Kalgoorlie, WA. So, you know, how can I be responsible for what happened in the past? You tell me.
We need a voice in Parliament for our people.
Yeah.
Simply because we've never had a voice in Parliament for our people, and I think it's about time that we do.
When you say there's no voice to Parliament for Aboriginal people, there are Aboriginal parliamentarians. In fact, I think they're probably overrepresented compared to the rest of society. Is that not enough of a voice?
Not really, I don't think, because, I don't think there is not much.
I've seen a bit of, like from the First Nations people themselves, a bit not decided on whether they even want it. So it's a bit hard for me to have an opinion when it's about them, and they don't even seem to be as a united front. So
who can represent all Aboriginal people? Because even on this issue, Aboriginal people are divided.
Yeah, they say, we don't need another Aboriginal voice speaking on, because we all got different voices and different languages and that sort of thing. But it just goes to say, like, we just need someone like for example, like Nelson Mandela spoke for all them black people. Well, we just need someone like that.
Got nothing against anybody, it doesn't matter the colour of your skin. But yeah, I don't agree with it.
But the celebrities have put so much time and effort to convince you to vote yes. Why have they not convinced you?
They'll never convince me because I know how the world works,
You don't care about the celebrities?
I do not need any celebrity telling me how to think.
You seem way too wise to be in Victoria. What are you doing here?
I really wish I knew.
Well, look, I think this is a small ask, and I think most Aboriginals want it, and I think if it helps improve their lives, why not?
But what is it exactly?
It's just a voice to the Parliament, that's all.
If we have an Aboriginal voice in Parliament to deal with that matter, then we work together as one to solve them sort of issues in Alice Springs.
And why can't they do that now?
Because there's no voice in Parliament to help them.
Everyone knows what the problem there is, and people have the solutions, but the government just doesn't do it. And I don't know, a voice to Parliament. You've got about 50 organisations that work in Alice Springs that are all different organisations for Aboriginal people, and still they cannot sort that problem out. It's not because there's no voice, it's because no one's actually listening.
Yes, that's the point, yeah.
So should we not be forcing the government to listen instead of creating more voices?
Well, yeah.
I would say we're all Australian, but obviously they can argue that this is their homeland. But either way, I think we're all Aussie at the end of the day.
Do you think dividing the country by race and giving people more rights than others is...
I think it should be fair.
Bullshit, man. It's about representation.
Come, let's talk to him. We'll talk to him. He seems good. Come, don't run. Come, let's talk.
Get back to work, mate, and you enjoy your bullshit. Yeah?
He calls it bullshit and runs. No, he's gone. He's too fast. He's got long legs, something that I have not been blessed with.
My great-grandmother had to give birth to 9 children in a tent alongside the railway. We didn't have it that easy being white. And back in 1967, the vote was to give Aborigines equal rights. We had no problem with that. But giving any minority group or any group extra privileges and parliamentary rights, that's wrong. They, to me, are equal.
Do you see why people are confused and concerned?
Yeah, there's a lot of like mixed understanding about all the voice about this. You know, if you read up about what it actually is, there's a lot of misleading information, so people getting the wrong idea about the voice. So that's my opinion.
Do you know what it is?
Yes.
What is it then?
It's just having a voice in Parliament, addressing matters that affect Aboriginal people. And
doesn't everything affect Aboriginal people? Literally everything.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
They've already got something like 40 billion allocated from our taxes. And then some idiots are saying we should be paying rent. Well, who do we pay it to? The whole thing's insane.
Why can't they define it before?
Well, I just don't think it's necessary. I think that this is just the first step, and it's a very safe step.
You don't think it's necessary to define a constitutional change before people vote on it?
The question is there that it's a very small change to recognise Australians, the first Australians here.
That's one part of it. It's the voice to Parliament that is more concerning, especially because it's not defined.
Well, it is defined in that it is a voice from the Aboriginal people to the Parliament of Australia that they can reject or accept. I think that's pretty straightforward.
It's a hell of a lot more complex than what people are thinking, and I think that the Latte set and Fitzroy are all just saying vote yes and putting the signs up in the front of their house without actually knowing anything about it. So,
well, I think that's sort of the problem here. Most people, if you go and play a game, you sort of want to know the rules before you play.
It makes sense, yeah. So as I said, I haven't done a lot of research in it. I've got some Indigenous mates that I'm going to try and get in touch with who I haven't seen in a while and see what they reckon, and then probably be guided by them, I'd say.
Would you identify traditionally as a Labor voter? Or?
Labor. I was in the Labor Party.
You were Labor? And
20 years.
20 years in Labor?
And I've spoken to my quite a few friends in the Labor Party. They're not going to vote yes. They're going no as well.
So the Labor movement itself...
I mix with our Labor people. Yeah.
You're a Labor guy and everyone you know is Labor?
I live in the western suburbs. So if you live in the western suburbs, it's all Labor. And most people, except for the younger generation, they're predominantly going to vote probably yes.
Do you think Labor's lost their way?
Oh, God, yes. They're disgusting.
No. I think they're doing a good job. No, I still vote Labor.
Still vote Labor? Do you think this is going to affect...
I've never voted Liberal in my life.
Do you think this is going to affect Albo?
Well, if you lose a referendum, I mean, I haven't lost yet. I think it's going to be very close. But if you lose a referendum, it does have an effect on you, particularly if you put all your weight behind it.
If he does lose and he doesn't step down, would you vote him again?
Yeah, I still vote Labor. Yeah, because they look after us in the West. Okay? Liberals never look after us. Never.
I remember the old Labor days when there were train drivers and other very ordinary men who became Prime Minister. Can I tell them about the family?
What?
My great-uncle was Jim Scullin.
Prime Minister.
He didn't go beyond grade 6 in primary school, self-taught. My grandfather, he was a drover, he ran a pub, he joined the colonial army, he gold digging, he did everything, and he entered Parliament. They knew what life was like. You know, they came from huge, poor families.
That's what I think. That's the question. As a lot of people think on a lot of issues, not just this, that Labor has lost its way. You know, a lot of the issues that they're advocating these days are woke, popular.
Yes.
Well, people are more concerned about cost of living.
Why do you think Victoria, which was a state which was staunchly yes in the beginning, has turned to what looks like a hard no?
Oh, well, I don't believe that.
You don't believe it?
No, I don't think so.
Do you vote Daniel Andrews?
In the lower house, yes. Upper house, no.
So we've got to blame you.
Not me.
Not you. You didn't vote.
I wouldn't vote for that bastard if you paid me.
God bless you. This is your husband? Of course. How long you been married?
42 years?
We
43? 43.
We met 51 years ago.
How do you put up with him if he's still voting for Dan Andrews?
Well,
We have a fight over it.
if he gives,
Did you have a fight over it?
Oh, no.
if he gives me my pocket money and doesn't
I'm
complain,
a traditionalist, traditional man, yeah.
yes, he is, and I love him.
God bless
He's
you
a
both.
good cook, and I'm the provider.
He provides the money. I cook up the 5-star.
You are the sweetest couple. I'll even forgive you that you voted Daniel Andrews in. But please,
No, he's not.
please
Yeah, but you gotta remember
seek the help you need to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Remember, Western Suburbs gets nothing from the Liberals. We never did. The only trouble is we get too much now, and what happens is there's too much work going on and you can't drive anywhere. You know, there's all roadblocks. So that's a bit of a problem. They overcooked it.
Don't worry, I'm taking him back to the nursing home.
All right. Cheers, fella.
He's carer.
Bless you. Brilliant. So the woke, they're out in force in Melbourne. We've seen that today and we've seen it yesterday and over the weekend as they march our streets. But the average Aussie, when you talk to them here on the streets in Melbourne, they either don't know, don't care, or are a solid no. Avi Yamini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia. If you enjoyed this report, make sure to like, comment, but most importantly, share it far and wide, because we know the mainstream media, they've picked a side. We know where their heart is and what they're voting. So it's up to you to get the truth out from the streets of Melbourne. And then head over to therealvoice.com.au. Check out all our reporting, including from Alice Springs in the lead up to the referendum next month. Therealvoice.com.au.